Well, are you an old clothes kind of person, or are you a new garments kind of person? Especially as we've gotten through this Christmas season, you really see it a lot in the worship. You see people who have really decked out and worn their best garments, especially on Christmas Eve. But also at this time of the year, especially when you get to that football watching season, you just want to put on those old warm sweats and just hang around the house. Well, whether you see that in lifestyle, we can also see it by the way we live as church. And so to decide whether we're old clothes or new garments, we have to ask the question, what is church? And what are we supposed to be in order to do church? Well, one thing that I've learned in preparing this message is what we believe about church directs how we live it out, how we be church. And so often people want it very simplistically. In fact, they want it to be just about worship on Sunday mornings. And the interesting thing, George Barna has been doing his statistics of church, of Christ-following believers, and what he has found, he has established now as the benchmark for church going is no longer once a week or twice a week, it's now once a month. And so as people look at being church or doing church, it's about meeting with Jesus, whether it's once a week or once a month. And it's about worship that uplifts my feelings. I want to come in and just be caught up in the emotion of what goes on. You want to gain some sort of pleasure. You want a warm embrace. You want that fuzzy feeling. Hey, Pastor, fill my tank up this week. Well, what happens as we operate in that mode of being church, we also have to look at the church clothes that we wear. And for some, yes, those church clothes are once a week or once a month kind of clothes. But let's look more at the behaviors as our church clothes. For some, their church clothes are seasonal. And sometimes it goes even lesser than once a month. It becomes seasonal, and as long as I'm feeling good where I'm worshiping, I'll stay there. But as soon as anything sort of stirs the pot, I'm out of there. For some, it's their church clothes are seasonal because they don't want to be there during the bleakness of winter. They don't like the old hymns. They don't like the liturgy. It makes church too stodgy and old and creepy. And so, because of the bleakness of winter, they don't act as church. Some of them, it's the dog days of summer, where it gets a little hot. It gets a little warm under the collar. It's in the regards that when they hear a sermon, hey, Pastor, you're meddling. Now you're stepping on my toes. Or if somebody in the congregation asks them to serve in a way, no, I just sort of want to sit and participate. I really don't. So they begin to feel the heat a little bit. And so their seasonal clothes don't have anything for those dog days of summer. Well, for some, their clothes could be ill-fitting, maybe a little too tight because they put on a little weight, or a little bit loose where they look sickly because they just don't fit right. Well, these ill-fitting kind of clothes would look in the behaviors of people and things like complacency, complaining, or being competitive. The complacency people, we're doing enough. The complaining people are, you're doing the wrong things. The competitive people is, we need to do more because we need to be more like that church. Quite ill-fitting clothes. Then you also have some ill-fitting clothes of those that are non-committal or those that are commandeering. The non-committal people sort of want to just blend into the crowd. They just want to sink into the woodwork. But the commandeering crowd, they want to be up front. They want to be large and in charge. They want to be recognized for everything. And finally, some ill-fitting clothes are those that wear what confines or confuses. The confining folks, they want to put everything in a box, and don't you dare do anything outside of that box. The confusing folks, they don't want a box. Just they want to do anything that feels good for them. So no matter what kind of church clothes you have, whether they be once a week clothes, whether they be seasonal clothes, or whether they be ill-fitting clothes, all of them detract from being the compelling image that God wants the church to be. That compelling image that draws people to Him. That's the first take. Next, take two.